right, everyone. Welcome back to the Jen GTM Show. I'm genuinely excited today about the conversation because this is a very special one for me. I have someone joining us who I have worked very closely, someone who's really been a huge part of the AWS ISV ecosystem, and someone who's really seen it up close and what actually drives the traction for SaaS companies trying to really scale with AWS. So, Bojidar, it's so good to have you here.
Hi, Jen. Nice having you. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. Every time when we talk Bojidar, I'm always reminded of the impact we created together during our your AIMER partnership leadership at AWS. So, thank you for making the time here. Before we jump in, just wanted to ask how you're doing, Bojidar.
Well, I'm doing great. I've been traveling in the past few months, taking some time off and kind of enjoying the way the IT infrastructure world is moving into an AI and Gen AI direction, which is quite revolutionary, I have to admit, and very exciting to watch.
Awesome. I can't wait to dive in. So today, what I want to do is really we want to unpack some themes that I know SaaS founders, leaders, GTM leaders, and AWS aligned ISVs are really going to get a ton of value from. So honestly, Bojar, you have had a decade of visibility, I think, into what really works, what doesn't, and what really actually moves a needle inside AWS. So your perspective in this session is really going to be gold for our audience. So let's jump into our question number one that I have for you. Bojar, could you share with us what separates ISVs who break through from those who stall?
Yeah, right. And that's that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, it's a hard one because there is no one single thing that ISVs can do to stand out of the pack. But what we have seen, what I have seen personally in the last 10 years with AWS, what successful partners all have in common are several things. Number one is really understanding what partnering with AWS and with any hyperscaler means. Uh, it is a common theme that when ISV started partnership with AWS, they expect that this partnership is all about AWS bringing them leads, opportunities, and new customers. And unfortunately, that is very wrong for so many reasons. First and foremost, there are tens of thousands of ISVs out there that AWS partners with. So AWS is not, or any hyperscaler, Azure or Google, they are not able to provide opportunities and leads to every single partner out there. And that's not what partnership is about. What partnership is about is for an ISV to be able to expand their reach to new customers, to get in front of more potential customers and be equipped with a lot more weapons to close deals successfully. So, from that standpoint, AWS does a great job in achieving several things. First and foremost, it is the ability to help ISVs close bigger deals. And that is a fact that we have seen over the years, especially having in mind the Forrester research that has been done when analyzing marketplace, AWS Marketplace as a channel to reach new customers. A different aspect of what AWS can help with is really around closing deals faster because there are so many incentives for AWS customers to buy from ISV partners. Then that kind of shows or helps customers make their decisions faster, eliminate some of the administrative burden in terms of vetting deals and shortening the buying cycle, which leads to an ISV being able to close more deals in a given time than without being a partner. Um, there are also other aspects. One being that AWS, in terms of partnering and going to market with ISVs, is a lot stronger when there is a build component. So ISVs that want to be successful with AWS and see real benefit from the partnership, these ISVs, they leverage the technologies and the people, the experts from AWS to help them narrate their product roadmap, their solution roadmap, and also AWS is able to provide a lot of customer feedback and customer insight on what exactly a particular group of customers is expecting in, say, a particular industry. What are the most sought after use cases, so that ISVs can adjust their solution roadmap, development roadmap, and can include additional services which are in demand in a given period of time. So a lot of ISVs underestimate the build aspect and the ability to work very closely with AWS teams to align roadmap and get to answer customer demands faster compared to their competitors. Uh, but one thing never changes, and this probably most important aspect of what separates ISVs is the C-level commitment. If there is no C-level commitment, if there is no company strategy, company-wide strategy to partner with AWS and understanding of what partnership actually means, then usually the partnerships stall because the alliance lead or the cloud director or whatever the name of the partner, the person responsible for this job at ISV's level, they are being isolated. They do things, and then if they don't have the C-level understanding, commitment, and support, then these things stall and go nowhere. So yeah, I can speak a lot. I can
Uh,
speak about 2 hours on that aspect alone because it's complex. It's not easy, but if we have to summarize, these are the kind of the three things. So partnerships, meaning that AWS doesn't bring leads and opportunities necessarily, but they help ISVs close bigger deals,
mhm.
close deals faster, and get in front of more AWS customers, and the C-level commitment, which is instrumental.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Bojidar, for that. I think you touched on something very important because most ISVs only think about co-market or co-sell piece, but I think you touched on a very important piece that they must also think about integrating their roadmap, which is a co-build piece, is also very, very critical, right? So I love that perspective. So just a follow-up question to the to this response is, what were the early signals that you saw? Because you have worked with hundreds of ISVs in your time, you've managed a vast team under you. What told you, like, what early signals that told you that, okay, this one is really going to break through? So if you had to boil down to like one or two behaviors, early signs that you saw, what would that be?
Yeah. First and foremost, I think we need to understand how. Well, let me rephrase it. So, one of the most important aspects is the solution fitness towards to AWS customer demand. So, for example, there is a number of ISVs that are working in the space of automated call centers. Some have their own solutions integrated with some hardware platforms. Um, in all reality, AWS has a very competing offer on that front. So ISVs that are in that space and compete directly with AWS Connect or Amazon Connect, which is the AWS product, they will have a hard time. So that means that they have to be very careful in understanding what their route to market is and how to utilize AWS resources. That doesn't say that it's impossible to partner with AWS, but it makes it a lot harder. So one of the things that AWS is looking at is the solution fitness towards customer demand. So the solution would probably come first. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you see a very disruptive solution in particular industry or particular type of use cases, then that is a really good sign that there could be a really good and strong strategic partnership on the horizon. So that's number one. Number two is the willingness, as I cannot repeat enough times how important it is to have the C-level commitment from the ISV towards the partnership. So ability and willingness to dedicate time to spend with AWS or with external consultants to understand what partnership means and how to get to a successful strategic partnership. So willingness to invest time in that is another good signal, as well as the ability to usually what happens when I talk to C-level people at partners which are fairly new from partnering with AWS, I see a spark in the eyes of the CEO or the VP or the CRO or VP of sales or a similar role when I explain to them how AWS Marketplace, how partnership can help them get more revenue. And more revenue doesn't mean by bringing new leads that are coming from AWS. It is more of what I mentioned earlier, which is the ability to shorten the sales cycle, to unblock budgets that are otherwise hidden and that are normally blockers or reasons for delaying closing deals. So when senior people understand that, and they most of the time do if they invest the time, which is normally several hours to get through the high level art of the possible with AWS, that is another sign. And they immediately jump into action. They have a commitment, and then the partnership steps that they need to take make sense. Otherwise, what happens with 99% of the ISVs when they engage with AWS is that AWS is really great at explaining what kind of programs they have, what are the requirements that ISVs have to go through. But AWS doesn't do a good job in explaining how these different programs or different steps contribute to the overall goal of growing the revenue. So things like doing a foundational technical review, which is fundamental,
Mm.
they look like nuisances, like steps which are waste of time for no good reason. But when ISVs and C-level people understand why this is a stepping stone towards getting revenue growth, which otherwise they won't be able to get, then it all makes sense. So yeah, I'd say these are the early signals, solution
Got
fitness and
it.
again the willingness of C-level people to invest time.
Yeah, that's great because I've seen it also over and over again when the C level is really not leaned in, the partnership just doesn't go anywhere at all, right? So I want to move on to the second segment here, which I want to really focus on partnership maturity and help ISVs think about that, right? So, from your perspective, Bojidar, how should ISVs think about partner maturity in 2026? Because I know this is a big one right now for both AWS and also for in the minds of the ISVs as well.
Right. And look, in all fairness, AWS is often changing or shifting their perspective on what mature partners look like, which is quite normal, I guess. There is a common trend with the hyperscalers to push their partners to transact through their relevant marketplaces. And that's for a good reason, simply because that is, according to Gartner, this is the future of software sales. When it comes to enterprises, when it comes to B2B business, marketplaces of different types will be the way to procure software, regardless whether it's going to be AI or SaaS, because it's still kind of not very clear whether there is going to be SaaS in the next few years or not. But it doesn't matter, and you can see that all the hyperscalers have their AI marketplaces alongside of their SaaS marketplaces. So marketplace is a big aspect for Amazon as well, and having in mind that Amazon AWS started with the marketplace many years ago. They have the most mature platform, and they have been investing a lot of money in developing new features and to make it easier to get on marketplace, easier for customers to procure, easier for customers to find solutions. So that is a big aspect. So ISVs that are not on marketplace by default will not be uh, measured as successful or as mature from AWS teams, and that is a big that's a big thing. So there is a number of ISVs that may have solutions outside of marketplace and still partner with AWS, but medium to long term, they won't be considered mature. They won't be considered strategic and important. So that is something that every ISV has to keep in mind. Second thing is that as of lately, AWS has shifted significantly their partner success metrics towards pipeline generation and revenue generation. And that trend is going to continue even further. So that means that ISVs have to be very transparent with AWS in sharing their pipeline so that AWS can see, and the AWS sales reps can also see which accounts the ISV is trying to sell to and find ways to help them, whether through introductions or through confirmation, or in general by seeing that these ISV is actively pursuing the partnership. And then the volume of transactions, whether it's on marketplace or outside of marketplace, has to be significant and has to be showing growth. If the joint sales, if the joint marketing is not active, then AWS cannot see the success of the partner, and then the maturity really comes down to just having a partnership badge, but no real cross-sell engagement.